You ever have a moment where everything just shatters? Yeah, that was me, exactly 1 year ago today. It was a Thursday. I remember because I'd just gotten off my third shift of the week, delivering Instacart orders still smelling like Red Bull and supermarket floors when I got home to find my life in fucking ruins. Let me rewind for a second. My name's Camille Hayes. I'm 25. And last year my mom, well technically my stepmom Meredith, kicked me out of the house like I was a stray dog. Over what? A bank transfer. 25 grand, gone. From her precious business account. And guess whose login was used? Yup, mine. But here's the thing. I didn't touch a damn thing. She stood there in her yoga Pilates princess outfit holding this folder like it was a goddamn smoking gun and said the words I'll never forget. You're not welcome here anymore. And she didn't even blink. Just turned and walked away like she hadn't just nuked my whole life. And my dad Jack, he just stood there. Didn't say a word. Didn't ask questions, didn't defend me. He just stared at the floor like it might swallow him whole if he stayed quiet enough. But you know who did speak? Blair, my stepsister, Princess Blair. Miss Everything with the fake smile and overpriced hair extensions. She leaned on my doorframe while I was packing my stuff into a duffel bag like it was some teen drama. You knew this was coming, she said, smirking. People don't just accidentally steal money, Camille. I wanted to punch her so bad, but I didn't. I zipped my bag so hard my hands shook. My chest was tight, I couldn't breathe. And all I could think was WTF is happening to me. I stepped outside and it started raining. Of course. Seattle rain, cold and stupid, soaking through my jacket like life was mocking me for not carrying an umbrella. I had nowhere to go. I mean nowhere. No money, no friends close enough to call, no couch to crash on, just this duffel bag, a half-dead phone, and the echo of Blair's voice saying, "Good luck, loser." I ended up sleeping on the back seat of my car that night, wrapped in a hoodie that still smelled like my ex. The next morning, I checked my bank app. Balance $4.86. Cool. Fast forward 2 weeks. I'm pulling double shifts. Grocery delivery by day, temp admin work by night. Eating dollar menu salads and pretending I'm fine. But every night I'd look at that folder in my head, Meredith's smug face, Blair's smirk, and Dad's silence, and think I didn't deserve that. So I started digging. Not out of revenge at first, just survival. But the deeper I looked, the messier it got. Turns out Blair had access to Meredith's account too. Guess who'd been using my login from the family iPad that no one ever logged out of? Yup, her. And I had receipts. Literally. Revenge is for the weak, they say. Nah. Revenge is for the ones who waited, watched, and finally said, "Screw this. I'm done being quiet." So I made a plan. No drama, no yelling, just cold, calculated comeuppance. 1 year later, I walked into Black Oak Capital's office downtown Suite, sharp hair slicked back, new nameplate on my startup proposal. They handed me a pen. $2 million. Startup funding. In my name. Built off a business I created from scratch with nothing but a busted laptop, coffee shop, Wi-Fi, and spite. And right there I knew. This isn't just about money. This is me saying I'm still here. And I'm not done yet. Next week. Family dinner at Meredith's house. And oh, you know I'm showing up. In black. With wine. And a plan. A week ago I got the text. Family dinner. Sunday at 6. Formal. M. No apology, no explanation, not even a hope you're well. Just an invitation like nothing happened. Like they hadn't kicked me out into the fucking rain and ghosted me for 12 straight months. I didn't reply. I didn't need to. Because I was already going. Not as the broke kid they shoved out the door. Not as the scapegoat they framed. I was going as the problem they can't ignore anymore. Sunday, 5:57 p.m. I pulled up to the house in a black Tesla I didn't lease. It was a thank you from one of my new investors. The driveway still looked the same, clean concrete boxwoods trimmed within an inch of their lives. Fake perfection. I adjusted my jacket, grabbed the wine bottle I wasn't going to open, and stepped inside. It smelled like rosemary chicken and control issues. Blair was the first to spot me. "Well, look who crawled back from the dead," she snorted, one eyebrow cocked like this was funny. "Not dead," I smiled, "just upgraded." She blinked but didn't respond. Meredith glided over from the kitchen, wine glass in hand, fake as ever. "Camille," she purred, "you look mature." God, she was so good at fake nice. Like a reality TV mom who thinks being passive-aggressive counts as manners. "Thanks," I said, taking off my coat. "You look unchanged." Dad walked in behind her eyes on the floor. Classic. "Hey, kid," he muttered. "That's all I got, a hey. Not I'm sorry, not glad you're here, just hey." The dinner table was a freaking war zone in disguise. Crystal glasses, fake laughs, knives that might as well have been weapons. Meredith sat at the head, of course. Blair to her right. Dad at the end, sipping Merlot like it could drown his guilt. And me, I took my seat across from Blair. Direct line of fire, let's go. So Camille Meredith started swirling her wine. What have you been up to this year? Oh, the usual, I said. Getting accused of felonies, sleeping in my car, building a company from scratch, you know, classic underdog arc. Blair coughed into her glass. Meredith blinked but smiled like I just complimented the napkins. Still blaming others, huh? She said, voice syrupy sweet. I set my fork down. You sure you want to go there? I asked, locking eyes with her. You really want to do this tonight? The table went quiet, real quiet. Dad cleared his throat. Camille, maybe this isn't the… Nope, I cut in. Tonight's perfect. I reached into my bag and pulled out the folder. Thick, tabbed, documented. Every damn transfer. Venmo logs, email receipts, IP addresses, device names, and right there on top, a screenshot from the family iPad. Blair's profile. Logged in, accessing the exact account I was blamed for touching. What the hell is this? Blair snapped. Evidence, I said. And karma. Printed double-sided for your convenience. I slid the packet across the table right into Meredith's perfectly manicured hands. She didn't touch it at first, just stared, then slowly flipped the cover. 1 page in and her face dropped. 2 pages in and she went pale. By page 5, her wineglass was trembling. This doesn't prove anything, Blair muttered. Anyone could have. Don't, I snapped. Don't you dare gaslight me again, not tonight. I looked at Dad. You didn't say a word when they threw me out. You just watched. So let's be real, if you're gonna sit silent now, at least read the damn thing. To his credit, he did. He took the packet, read page after page while Blair fidgeted and Meredith stared into her wine like it might offer her an exit strategy. When he looked up, his voice was quiet, but sharp. You framed her, he said. Dead silence. Meredith's mouth opened but nothing came out. Blair, she exploded. Why are you believing her? She probably faked all of this. She's obsessed with tearing me down. She's always been jealous. Jealous of what I said. Laughing. The fraud. The credit card debt. The life built on lies. Her face cracked then. For a split second she wasn't smug. She was scared. You have no idea what you're doing, she hissed. If you ruin this, you ruin everything. Good, I said. Burn it all. Meredith stood up suddenly. This is outrageous, she said. You show up here disrespecting this family. Disrespect, I snapped. Lady, you tossed me into the street without a dime. You called me a thief. You let your daughter smear my name and never once asked if it was true. Because I trusted her, Meredith shot back. You trusted convenience, I said. You trusted the easier daughter, the one who never challenged you, the one who kept her nails clean while I worked 2 jobs and cleaned your damn floors. You're out of line. And you're out of power. The room pulsed. The silence was violent. Then Dad said it. She's right. Just like that. The air left the room. Meredith stared at him like he'd betrayed a blood oath. You're choosing her. I'm choosing the truth, he said, for once. And then he stood up and walked over to my side. And y'all, I didn't cry. I didn't smile. I just looked forward and let it land. I left right after that. Didn't stay for dessert. Didn't wait for apologies. Just picked up my coat, dropped the wine bottle on the table still unopened, and walked out. As I reached the door, Blair muttered under her breath. You think this makes you better? I turned around. No, just not broken anymore, so yeah, I walked out. Didn't slam the door. Didn't say some movie line goodbye. I just left. And honestly, that silence behind me, it was louder than any scream. 2 days later, Blair showed up at my office, uninvited, mascara smudged, coat way too expensive for how pathetic she looked. She didn't even make it past reception, just stood there in the glass lobby looking like she'd finally figured out what losing felt like. We need to talk, she said, eyes darting around like someone might recognize her. I stepped into the hallway and shut the door behind me. You've got 3 minutes. She winced like I'd slapped her. But I meant it. Camille. I didn't mean for it to go that far. You thought you could lie, steal, and I'd just eat it like always. No, I didn't think they'd actually kick you out. I blinked. So you did set me up. Silence. Then a whisper. Yes. I didn't say anything. I didn't need to. She started crying, in public, on a Tuesday morning. I was scared, okay? Mom said she'd cut me off if I screwed up again. And I was behind on rent and… So you used me as a fucking shield. She didn't answer. She didn't have to. Honestly, I should have felt something. Anger, satisfaction, vindication. but all I felt was tired. I built everything I have while you tore me down. And now you want forgiveness. She wiped her face with her sleeve. I don't know. I wanted you to know I didn't mean for it to get this bad. You mean for me to be homeless, broke, humiliated, and cut off from my family? I didn't think they'd believe me. And there it was. The worst part. She knew she was lying, but she also knew they'd pick her anyway, because they always had. I walked back inside, left her standing there dripping guilt all over my hardwood floors. She didn't follow. A week passed. And then came the press release. Meredith Hayes steps down as CEO of Meridian & Company following internal financial investigation. Boom. I didn't leak it, but someone did. One of the execs probably. She'd pissed off a lot of people in her climb to the top. And once I gave the board a tiny tip about irregularities in the books, well, let's just say karma didn't need much help. Dad called me that night. She's blaming me, he said. Said I let you in. Said I ruined her. I didn't know whether to laugh or cry. She ruined herself, Dad. I just turned on the light. He paused for a long time. I'm sorry I didn't believe you. And for once I think he meant it. But sorry doesn't unhurt. Doesn't rewind the bus I was thrown under. Still, thanks for saying it, I said. Even if it's a year late, I want to make things right. Then don't let her spin the narrative. That's step 1. Turns out step 2 came fast. Meredith tried to sue me. Claimed defamation, emotional distress, intentional sabotage. Girl, please. Her lawyers sent a cease and desist. I sent screenshots. 37 of them. Blair using company funds for hair extensions, Botox VIP concert tickets. I even found an Uber receipt from Blair to my old apartment the night before the money went missing. Real smart babe. Case dropped. Fast. After that, it all unraveled. The board pushed Meredith out. Investors bailed. Her legacy was suddenly toxic. I didn't even have to lift a finger. Poetic, right? 3 weeks later, I got an email. Subject: we need to talk, from Blair. I didn't open it. Just archived it next to the folder called emotional trash. But the next message came from someone I didn't expect. Aunt Rachel. Dad's sister. The only relative who ever treated me like more than an obligation. Heard what happened. I'm proud of you. Simple, but it hit hard. 1 month after the dinner, I walked into a networking event wearing a black suit and a smile that said, "Try me." They introduced me as the founder of Ardent, my fintech startup. A year ago, I was sleeping in my car. Now, investors were lining up. Some even tried to connect me with Meredith's old contacts. I declined. I'm not interested in hand-me-downs, I said. 2 months in, I saw Meredith. At a cafe. Alone. Makeup free. Hair tied up, no assistance in sight. She looked human. And she looked at me. I almost didn't stop, but curiosity won. "Camille," she said, voice hoarse, "you've changed." "No," I said, "I just stopped letting you define me." She blinked, and then whispered, "You destroyed everything." "No, Meredith, you did. I just stopped covering for you." We didn't say goodbye. She didn't ask for forgiveness. And I didn't offer it. Because some things, you don't forgive, you outgrow. That night I lit a candle. Not for her, for me. For the girl who sat on a curb a year ago, soaked, shivering, and shattered. For the version of me who begged to be believed. For the woman I became because no one saved her, but she saved herself. 3 months after that dinner, Blair hit rock bottom. And I mean face-first glass shard rock bottom. I wasn't checking for her. I'd muted her on socials, blocked her number. But the internet loves mess. And someone on Reddit posted, "Pretty influencer caught misusing family funds, Meridian & Co. under fire again." Photo: Blair, mid-breakdown, screaming at a parking meter, hair in a messy bun, no glam filter, just rage and eyeliner streaks. Y'all? I didn't laugh. Not because it wasn't funny, but because I didn't need to. Karma had already started writing her own script, and I had a front row seat. Apparently, after Meredith's fall from grace, the money stopped. Like fully stopped. No more hair appointments, no Pilates packages, no comped apartment rent. Just Blair, and bills, and that $25K she never really figured out how to replace. Turns out consequences are expensive. She showed up at my building again. This time she buzzed from the call box. I watched her through the security camera. Hoodie. No makeup. Swollen eyes. "Camille, please. I'm not here to fight." I should have ignored her. Every fiber in my spine said, she doesn't deserve space in your peace. But I let her up anyway. Because closure's weird like that. Sometimes you let the ghost in so you can finally burn the house down. She stood in my office like she was scared to breathe. Didn't sit, didn't speak. Just held something in her hands. "This is yours," she said quietly. "It was the necklace Mom left me. The one Blair couldn't find when I was kicked out. The one Meredith said must have been misplaced. She handed it to me like a peace offering. I'm sorry. Just that. No excuses, no crying, no performance. I didn't say thank you, I didn't even nod. I just took it and set it on the desk like it wasn't breaking a decade of silence. You know this doesn't fix anything, I said. I know. You ruined me. I know. And you didn't care until it came back to bite you. Yeah, she whispered. That's true. And maybe it was the honesty, or maybe I was too damn tired to hate her anymore, but something shifted in me. Not forgiveness. Just finality. We sat in silence for maybe 5 minutes. I watched her fidget. She watched me not react. I thought I was winning, she said eventually. All those years Mom gave me everything. You were always the angry one. The weird one. The one who pushed back. Because I saw through it, I replied. You thought being her favorite was love. It was leverage. She bought your loyalty. I earned my self-worth. I didn't know how to be anything else, she said. That's not my problem. I stood. She got the hint. As she reached the door, she turned. Do you ever think about what it could have been like if we weren't like this? I didn't answer right away. Then, no. I think about what it is like now, and how peaceful it is without pretending we were ever close. She nodded, once, quiet, and left. Later that night, I held the necklace in my hand. Not because I wanted to wear it, just to remember. Not all of them had hurt me. My real mom, before she died, gave me that peace to feel close to her, and Blair had stolen it out of spite maybe, or jealousy. I set it back down. Closure doesn't always look like hugs and apologies. Sometimes it's just silence. That doesn't ache anymore. Then came Dad. A week after the Blair visit, he texted, "Coffee." I ignored it. Then he showed up at my office the next day, like in person. I brought vanilla oat milk, he said, holding up my old order like some kind of peace flag. I stared at the cup. You really think oat milk erases what you didn't say when it mattered? He didn't flinch, just sighed. No, but I thought it could start something. I took it, didn't drink. You stood there, while they threw me out. You said nothing. Nothing. I know. I begged you. I looked you in the eyes and said I didn't do it. And you just watched. I thought keeping the peace was the same as doing the right thing. It's not, I said. It never was. He sat down slowly like his bones hurt from guilt. You know the worst part, he said. I did believe you. I just didn't want to fight her. My chest burned. So you sacrificed me instead. Yeah. At least he said it. We talked for almost an hour. About Mom. About how fast Meredith took over. About how easy it was to let someone else lead when you're too tired to grieve. I messed up, he said. More than once, I added, every day since you left. He looked up, eyes glassy. You're the only one who ever stood up to her. The only one who didn't need money to matter. And that landed. I didn't say we were good. We weren't. But when he left, I didn't feel rage anymore. Just relief. I didn't need his approval. I didn't need his regret. I just needed to know he saw it now. And he did. That night, I went home and poured a glass of wine. Sat by the window. Watched the city buzz like nothing ever happens except success and traffic. And I whispered something I hadn't said out loud in months. I'm proud of you. Not to anyone else. Just to me. To the girl who once begged for crumbs of love and now sat surrounded by proof that she was never the problem. I didn't plan to change the will. At first, but when you've been cut off, cut down, and cut out at some point, you stop asking to be written in. You grab the pen and start drafting your own version. It started with a phone call from Mr. Alston, Dad's estate attorney, friendly in that I wear cardigans but I litigate like a viper kind of way. Camille, your father's asked to update the estate documents, he said. He requested you be present. I froze. Not because I wanted the money, but because holy shit, this man finally grew a spine. The next morning I walked into Alston & Rowe with zero expectations and very fresh iced coffee. Dad was already seated looking tired but grounded. Blair nowhere in sight. Meredith not invited. Mr. Alston nodded at me all polite professionalism. This won't take long, he said. Your father's decided to appoint you as the sole beneficiary of his business interests and personal holdings. I stared at the paper. Dad cleared his throat. If anything happens to me, I want it to go to you. Not her, not Meredith, you. I leaned back. Why now? He looked down at his hands. Because you were never supposed to be the one struggling. I made you fight for love you already earned. My chest clenched. Not because I needed his money, but because, damn, this was the first time he admitted it out loud. You know this won't go down quietly, I said. I know. Meredith will lose it. Let her. I signed. Not for revenge, but because if I was going to carry the scars, I might as well own the inheritance too. News broke 3 days later. Jack Hayes. Updates will cuts out. Wife and stepdaughter. Cue the chaos. My inbox on fire. My phone buzzing like a beehive. Blair sent me 3 texts in a row. You planned this. This is fucked up, Camille. I hope you choke on it. I didn't respond. Meredith called twice, then left a voicemail. I built this family. You think you can just erase me? I didn't call back. Because she was wrong. I didn't erase her. She wrote herself out. Later that week, I saw a TikTok Blair posted crying into the camera talking about betrayal and family greed. Girl, you framed me for theft and let me sleep in my car. But sure, play the violin. Comments weren't kind. My favorite. Sis really threw stones and forgot she lived in a glass condo. Then came the email. From Meredith's lawyer. Demanding mediation. Claiming emotional trauma and undue influence. Basically, she was trying to claw her way back into the will. Cute. I forwarded it to Mr. Alston with exactly 2 words. Handle it. He did. Depositions started a week later. I didn't even have to show up at the first one, but I did. I wore black, sat in the back, silent. And when Meredith walked in and saw me, she blinked, because I wasn't the broken kid from a year ago. I was the woman who now owned the building her husband used to work from. She took the seat across from the court reporter, tried to posture, tried to spin. But the documents didn't lie. Nor did the security footage, or the bank statements, or the email Blair accidentally CC'd to the wrong person 6 months ago titled, Camille's so dumb she'll never trace this. Yeah, we traced it. We printed it. We filed it. By the end of deposition day 3, Meredith looked hollow. No mascara, jaw clenched, hair pulled back too tight. Like the years of faking it finally caught up with her bones. Blair didn't even show up to support her. Turns out once your meal ticket stops paying loyalties, just another thing you can't afford. One night I got another voicemail from Meredith. No lawyers, no threats. Just a quiet voice. You think this makes you strong, but you'll end up alone like me. For once I didn't feel rage. I felt pity. Because she still thought love was something to leverage, not something to build. I hung up and walked into my kitchen, lit a candle, opened a bottle of red, and sat on the floor with my dog Scout, who never asked me to prove I belonged. 2 weeks later, I met with Mr. Alston again. Everything's finalized, he said. Your father's transferred his assets into a trust under your name. He also left a letter. He handed it to me, old school envelope and all. I held it for a while, didn't open it, just stared at my name in his handwriting. When I finally read it that night, it was short, 4 lines. I failed you in ways I can't undo, but I see you now. I believe you, and I trust you to build better. Love, Dad, I cried, not because I needed validation, but because the girl I used to be needed to hear that even if it came 1,000 days late. The next morning I got up early, dressed in navy blue, and walked into the new office of Ardent, my company. Our logo, minimalist clean, glowed on the front glass. The team, 5 full-time employees, all women, all brilliant, all hired by me. I brought breakfast, bagels, and hope. I just wanted to say I told them thank you for building this with me. They smiled. One of them clapped, and for the first time in years, I didn't feel like I was proving anything. I just felt home. It's been 1 year, 6 months, and 14 days since I stood on that sidewalk in the rain, gripping a duffel bag and wondering if anyone would ever believe me. I don't carry that bag anymore, but I still carry what came after. I've got a rule now. If I have to beg for the bare minimum respect, honesty, basic damn humanity, I'm out. No dramatic exits, no speeches, just silence and distance. Because I learned the hard way, the people who love you right don't make you earn it with suffering. So here's what I took with me. Not the pain, not the anger, not even the revenge. I took the clarity. That bone-deep knowing of who I am, what I'm worth, and who never gets to question it again. Let me tell you what that looks like now. My company's still running. We just closed our 3rd funding round. I'm hiring 2 new engineers and a head of product next month. Our team, all women, all first gen, all people who've had doors slammed in their face and decided to build a whole new damn house. I don't advertise it, but part of our revenue goes to a grant for women leaving toxic households. Because I know what it's like to leave with nothing but keys and hurt, and I know what it's like to turn that into something solid. My apartment, floor-to-ceiling windows, quiet street, lavender on the balcony. No yelling, no cold shoulders, just plants, playlists, and peace. Some nights I still sleep with the window cracked just to remind myself that no one's going to sneak in and snatch it away. Not anymore. Meredith. Gone, not dead, just vanished. Legally, financially, socially. Her name stopped opening doors. She stopped getting invitations. I heard she moved to Arizona or something, still trying to spin the story like she was the victim. But the thing about burning bridges is eventually you're the one stranded. And Blair. Last I heard, she's bouncing between freelance PR gigs and roommates who charge late fees. We haven't spoken since she returned the necklace. I hope she figures it out, I really do. But I won't be waiting. My dad and we're different now. We talk once a week, never long but honest. No more pretending, no more deflections. Just the kind of small, slow mending that doesn't demand anything but presence. He sent me a photo last month of me at 12 in a hoodie 3 sizes too big, building a robot out of cereal boxes. Caption, "You always had it in you." I didn't cry, but I stared at it for a long time. The other night I ran into someone at a bar. Old college friend, hadn't seen him in years. He looked at me and said, "You look like someone who doesn't need anything." And that landed harder than he meant it, because it's true. I'm not chasing validation anymore. I'm not trying to be the good daughter, the understood sister, the one who swallows every insult to keep the peace. I'm just me. And that's finally enough. I still keep that letter from my dad. Framed, but hidden. Not because I need to read it, but because it reminds me sometimes the apology comes late, but your peace doesn't have to. Here's what they don't tell you about revenge. It's never about destruction. It's about reclamation, reclaiming your voice, your truth, your place. It's standing in a room full of people who once called you a problem and saying, "I'm not here to make you comfortable. I'm here because I earned it." So if you're reading this because you've been the scapegoat, the black sheep, the too emotional, the difficult one, the one who was told to shut up and smile, I see you. And I'm telling you right now, you don't have to stay. You don't have to keep proving yourself to people who already decided not to see you. You are not the sum of your pain. You are not what they said when they were angry and you were quiet. You are not unlovable. You're just not controllable, and that scares the hell out of them. Walk away, even if it's into nothing. Even if you're soaked and shaking and holding your whole life in a bag, you'll build new roots. And one day you'll look around and realize you didn't just survive. You outgrew everything that tried to bury you. I'll end with this. I used to stare at my reflection and ask, what did I do wrong? Now I look in the mirror and say, look at you, you're still here. And that's the only closure I ever needed. Story 2. Let me start with this. I never wanted revenge. Not at first. I just wanted respect. A seat at the table, a little acknowledgement that maybe, just maybe, I mattered. Instead, I got iced out of the biggest day of my sister's life, after paying for every damn part of it. But let me back up. My name's Caleb. I'm 34. I run a small but successful tech consulting firm, married to a phenomenal woman named Harper. We've got 2 kids, Eli and Nora, and for the most part, life is good. Was good. Until my sister Clarissa got engaged. Clarissa is the kind of person who lives for optics. She's curated, polished, all sparkle and no scrapes. Growing up, our parents doted on her while I got the be responsible lectures and the reminder that I was the older one every time she threw a tantrum. Whatever. I stopped trying to compete with the golden child years ago. Still, when she got engaged, I genuinely wanted to help. Maybe it was guilt. Maybe it was some lingering sense of duty. Or maybe I just wanted to finally matter to my family. So I did what any good older brother would do. I stepped up, paid the deposit on the venue, wired over money for her dress, helped her fiancé Marco design a proposal video that went viral on TikTok, and when she mentioned she and Marco were struggling to find a place to live, I bought them a condo. Quietly, no strings attached. She cried when I handed over the keys, said I was the best brother in the world, and for a few months I actually believed we were finally close. Yeah, that didn't last. The first red flag? She stopped including Harper in the wedding group chats. Then came the, oh, it's just the girls' excuses for not inviting her to brunches or fittings. Harper noticed. Of course she did. But she smiled through it the way she always does when someone's being rude but doesn't want to cause a scene. I tried to talk to Clarissa. Hey, I said once Harper feels a little left out. Maybe loop her in. Clarissa's reply, don't worry, it's just logistics stuff. Harper's so sweet, but she's more chill vibes. This is going to be a luxury aesthetic. A luxury aesthetic. Like my wife didn't fit the mood board. Still, I let it slide for Clarissa, for peace. That was my mistake. The bomb dropped the night before the wedding. She invited me to a pre-wedding cocktail party, rooftop bar, exclusive guest list, overhyped drinks. I figured it was a last-minute logistics thing. I showed up dressed in a clean navy suit, no tie, the usual. Clarissa was there in some glittery monstrosity, drink in hand, glowing like she was already famous. She air-kissed me on the cheek. Then mid-sip, mid-scroll through Instagram, she said it. Oh, by the way, tomorrow comes Solo. The kids, and Harper, they don't really match the luxury vibe we're going for. I froze. Sorry. It's just for the aesthetic, she said, like she was explaining why you don't put ketchup on fine steak. You know how Harper is always in those sundresses and natural hair and farmer's market energy, and the kids love them, but it's adults only, professional photographers and all. I stared at her. She didn't even look up. My fingers curled around the base of my glass. I could feel the ice melting faster than I could swallow the heat building in my chest. You don't want my wife or children at your wedding. She finally looked at me. Come on, Caleb, you're the big brother, you get it. This is my moment. Just show up, look handsome, and smile for the cameras. Please, smile for the cameras. Smile. Like I hadn't been the one holding everything together behind the scenes while she took credit for every ounce of sparkle. That's when something broke in me. But I didn't yell. I didn't even argue. I just smiled. Of course, I said, whatever you need, because I'd already decided what she needed most was a reality check. I left the bar that night and sat in my car for a long time. Then I made a phone call. Hey, I said, we're changing the delivery window tomorrow, noon sharp. You'll know it when you see it. The guy on the other end just laughed. You sure? Oh, I'm sure. And with that, the plan was in motion. See, Clarissa had built her entire life around appearances. But I was about to give her a front row seat to what reality really looked like. And it would be gift-wrapped. Wedding morning. I stood in front of the mirror adjusting my cufflinks like nothing was wrong. Tailored black suit, crisp white shirt, no tie, just intentional simplicity. Harper helped with the outfit before I left. You okay with this? I asked her quietly, our daughter's little arms wrapped around her leg. Harper kissed my cheek. Don't burn the place down, she whispered. Just warm it up a little. That's my wife. Calm, brilliant, patient in ways I'll never be. She's been through years of casual erasure from my family. The missed invites, the looks, the polite insults sugar-coated in just kidding. Now she was giving me the green light, not for revenge, for honesty. The venue was everything you'd expect from a Clarissa event. White orchids draped down marble arches. A harpist played something so delicate it sounded like a whisper. Guests sparkled in couture, sipping chilled champagne and pretending to be impressed. I walked in solo. Heads turned. Some recognized me. Others assumed I was a VIP. I smiled and nodded, keeping my pace slow. Clarissa was at the altar, already standing under a crystal archway like a reality TV bride. Her dress shimmered like it had its own lighting rig. The photographers flanked every corner, ready to catch the moment. She caught my eye and grinned like she was untouchable. She had no idea what was coming. Right on schedule, a staff member wheeled in a massive gift box wrapped in ivory paper and silver ribbon. Classy, elegant, heavy enough that it needed a dolly. Clarissa's eyes lit up. She probably thought it was some absurdly expensive sculpture from a socialite friend. Or from me. She was half right. I stepped forward, smiled, and gave her a nod. It's for you, I said. She waved to one of her bridesmaids. Open it. The ribbon came undone. The lid lifted. And then, chaos. 4 goats. Real live goats, brushed, beribboned, and wearing miniature tuxedos, leapt out of the box and began trotting through the aisle like runway models. Guests screamed. One of the goats immediately knocked over a champagne tower. Another jumped onto a white chair and bleated like it had something to say. The third chewed through the veil of one bridesmaid. The fourth, my personal favorite, went straight for the floral arch, rearing up and chomping on Clarissa's $12,000 imported peonies. Clarissa stood frozen, mouth open, one perfectly manicured hand clutching her bouquet. The room descended into mayhem. Gasps, shouts, laughter from the far end of the room where the unimportant guests sat. Someone was live streaming on Instagram. And me, I stepped back, smiling. This wasn't destruction. This was honesty, Clarissa style. See, she called my wife rustic, said my kids didn't match the aesthetic. So I brought the aesthetic to her. Raw, farm fresh, real. And oh, there was more. Just as the last goat was escorted out by a traumatized staff member, the lights dimmed. Everyone assumed it was a power surge. Then the projector flared to life. A video began playing across the giant LED wall behind the altar. Clarissa's voice, crystal clear, on loop. Caleb's wife, so basic. Like, sweet but Etsy-core. I don't want her vibe messing up my photos. Cut to another clip. My brother's so easy to manipulate. Just act a little emotional and he'll pay for anything. Clip 3. Honestly, if he brings the kids to the wedding, I'm gonna lose it. I don't want the reception to look like a school fundraiser. Then the final one. If I cry a little, Caleb will probably buy us another property. Watch, he's predictable. Silence. Dead silence. Every guest, including Marco's family, stared at the screen, then at Clarissa, then back again. She was trembling now, mouth twitching, eyes darting like a trapped animal. Marco turned slowly, his face pale. "You said those things?" he asked quietly. Clarissa looked at me, her voice broke. "You recorded me." I shrugged. "Nope." She blinked. "That was you," she whispered. "No," I said again. "It was your bridesmaid Mia. Sent them to Harper last week. I just edited them together." Clarissa turned to Mia stunned, the betrayal fully sinking in. Mia gave a small wave. "Don't worry," she said sweetly. "I brought the receipts." The wedding didn't end with vows. It ended with Clarissa storming off screaming about sabotage and betrayal, while half the guests recorded the meltdown and the other half quietly slipped out with their gift bags. The goats had done less damage than her own words. And for once it wasn't me who broke the peace. It was her. Later that evening I got a call from Marco's mother. She thanked me, said she had been uneasy about the wedding for months but hadn't wanted to interfere. That call lasted all of 5 minutes. Because I had one more thing to do. I called my lawyer. "Cancel the condo deed," I said. "You want to sell it?" "No," I replied. "Transfer it. Find a local charity that helps single moms or battered women. Something meaningful. Let it go to someone who knows what it's like to struggle." "Got it." Oh, and Clarissa's wedding dress. It was on loan from a boutique that I had signed the damage waiver for. So when the dress returned, ripped, grass-stained, and goat-nibbled, guess who they billed? Me. Guess who canceled the payment? Also me. They sued her instead. She tried calling that night, 3 times, left a voicemail crying, then screaming, then begging. I didn't listen to the last one. I just blocked the number. Harper and I spent the night eating takeout on the back patio. Nora built a pillow fort under the stars. Eli fell asleep on my chest. No noise, no apologies, just peace. 2 days after the wedding, Clarissa went viral. Not in the look at this perfect couple kind of way. Nope. More like Bridezilla loses her mind after her own brother exposes her for being a spoiled monster kind of viral. Someone from the ceremony, probably one of the younger cousins, uploaded the video montage. Goats meltdown, Marco walking away. All of it. And once it hit TikTok, it was game over. Reddit picked it up. Wedding forums dissected it frame by frame. Twitter renamed her Goat Girl. The hashtags trended for days. Clarissa's calamity, Household Farm Fresh wedding, #Goatgate. I didn't post a thing. Didn't have to. The internet handled the rest. My phone blew up. Friends, acquaintances, people I hadn't spoken to in years suddenly wanted to catch up. My restaurant clients booked solid. Apparently defending your wife and kids while pulling off the most stylish revenge stunt since Beyoncé's Lemonade makes people want to support your business. We were featured in a local paper. The headline, Brother of the Year or Mastermind of Mayhem Meet Caleb. I laughed. Not because it was wrong, but because for once the world saw me. Not Clarissa's brother, not the backup sibling. Just me. Meanwhile, Clarissa spiraled. I know this because I got a series of unhinged texts from her 3 days later. All caps, half misspelled. Somewhere between threats and cries for help. Then came the call from my mother. "Caleb." She sighed like this was all a misunderstanding. "Don't you think this has gone on long enough?" I leaned back in my chair, balancing my phone between shoulder and ear. "Gone on," I repeated. "You mean Clarissa's behavior or her complete lack of remorse? She's your sister, and I'm her doormat apparently." "Be reasonable," my dad cut in, joining the call. "She's humiliated. Her fiancé left. She's getting death threats." I raised an eyebrow. "You know what's funny? None of this would have happened if she hadn't said what she said. If she hadn't disrespected my wife. My kids. Me." Still, Mom whispered, "She's family." I paused. Then maybe she should have acted like it. And I hung up. Clarissa tried to pivot. She launched a rebrand on Instagram. Gone were the designer bags and yacht photos. Suddenly she was posting unfiltered selfies, quotes about humility, and long captions about growth. One of them started with, "A year ago I was living for the wrong things. Now I'm learning how to be real." It got 12 likes, half of them bots. Then she launched a YouTube channel. 2 vlogs in, she tried to cry on camera. Tried being the key word. She wiped non-existent tears while talking about how cancel culture destroyed her. The comments weren't kind. One user wrote, "Sis, you canceled yourself, he just hit play." But what really did her in wasn't the internet. It was real life. Turns out her employer, a luxury PR firm, wasn't thrilled to be associated with a viral scandal. especially one involving goats' profanity and leaked private recordings. 3 weeks post-wedding, Clarissa was fired. Her client list vanished, her inbox dried up, and the influencers she once clung to like status lifelines silent. She tried calling again. This time I answered. She started with, "Before you say anything." I cut her off. "Clarissa, what do you want?" Silence. Then softly, "Help." I let that hang in the air. Help how, I asked. I need a job, or a place to stay, just for a while, just until things cool off. I stood at my kitchen window watching Eli and Nora play in the yard. "Why would I do that?" Her voice cracked. "Because I'm your sister." "No," I said. "You're a stranger I once mistook for family." She tried again. "I'm sorry, okay, I was stupid, I messed up. But you didn't have to destroy me." "I didn't destroy you, Clarissa," I said. "Your own words did. All I did was give people the volume knob." "You've made your point," she whispered. "Can we move on?" I took a deep breath. "You didn't just insult my wife. You erased her. You didn't just exclude my kids. You made them feel like they didn't belong. You didn't just take my help, you expected it like it was your birthright. And now you're mad that the golden pedestal cracked under your own weight." She started to respond. I hung up, then blocked her again. A month passed. Clarissa moved into a cramped rental 2 hours outside the city. She was working customer service for an online retail startup. Irony. She used to call jobs like that starter positions for people without ambition. Now she was the one getting yelled at over shipping delays. Poetic, really. Meanwhile, Harper launched her own small business. Organic meal kits. Family-sized. Seasonal menus. Kid-friendly prep. She called it Rooted. Orders came flooding in, first from our neighborhood, then from local schools and churches. Clarissa once called Harper a homebody with farmer energy. Now that energy was funding our next vacation. One night, I was cleaning up after dinner when Eli asked Daddy, "Why don't we see Aunt Clarissa anymore?" I paused, drying a plate. Harper looked over but didn't interrupt. "She made some choices," I said gently, "and now we're giving her space." "Is she still mad?" I knelt down and ruffled his hair. "I don't know, but we're not." He smiled. And that was enough. 1 year. That's how long it had been since the wedding, since the goats, since the screen lit up with Clarissa's own voice telling the world who she really was. I didn't expect to ever see her again. But life has a strange sense of timing. It happened at the grand opening of our second restaurant, Harper's Dream Project. A rustic modern fusion spot with a wood-fire kitchen, a rooftop herb garden, and a menu handwritten daily on craft paper. The place was packed. Friends, regulars. A local food blogger even showed up with a tripod and declared the cornbread life-changing. I was greeting guests at the front when I saw her. Clarissa, standing just outside the door. No designer bag, no makeup team, just jeans, a weathered coat, and hair pulled into a low ponytail. She looked older, tired. But not in a dramatic way, more like someone finally carrying her own weight for the first time. I didn't move. She did. Walked in slowly, eyes scanning the room like she didn't belong anymore. Which, to be honest, she didn't. Not here. Not after what she did. "Caleb," she said when she reached me. Her voice was soft. Almost too soft, like she wasn't sure it would still work. "Clarissa." A long pause. "Then can we talk?" I glanced around. Harper caught my eye. She didn't smile, but she didn't shake her head either. I nodded once. "Follow me." We sat in a quiet corner of the rooftop, string lights overhead, the murmur of happy diners below us. Clarissa stared at the wood grain table for a while before speaking. "I didn't come here to fight." I didn't respond. She took a breath. "I know I messed up. Badly. I didn't just hurt you, I disrespected everything you gave me." Still, I said nothing. After the wedding, she continued, "I told myself I was the victim. That you'd gone too far. That you ruined everything." She looked up at me. "But I watched that video again. All of it. And I realized, you didn't ruin anything. You just showed people what I really said when I thought no one was watching." I finally spoke. "And now, I don't want pity," she said. "I don't expect a second chance, but I need work. Something, anything." She swallowed. "I need to start over, and I don't have anyone left." For a long moment, I just studied her. No rage, no triumph, just stillness. "You want a job here?" I asked. She nodded. "I'll do anything. Wash dishes, fold napkins. You don't even have to tell anyone I'm your sister." I sat back. "Okay, tell me this, why should I hire you?" She blinked. "What? Why should I bring you into this space?" I said. "The one Harper and I built from nothing. The place that feeds our family. The place where our kids come after school and help roll dough in the back kitchen. Why should I let you step into that? Her lip trembled. Because I'm not the same person. No, I agreed, you're not. Then I leaned forward, elbows on the table. But change isn't proven with tears. It's proven with time. With work. With who you are when no one's looking. Clarissa nodded slowly. I know. I'm not saying no, I said, but I'm not saying yes either. If you really want to earn this, you'll start from the bottom. Application, interview, references, like everyone else. She opened her mouth probably to say thank you, but I stopped her. And Clarissa, you mess with my staff, you make anyone feel small, you bring even 1 ounce of that old ego into this place. I looked her dead in the eye. You're gone, no warnings, no second chances. She nodded, and for the first time in her life, she didn't argue. We started her in the kitchen. Prep work, no customer interaction. She kept her head down, didn't ask for special treatment. Weeks passed. She showed up early, stayed late. She was quiet, humble, different. The team liked her. They didn't know who she was at first, just that she worked hard and didn't complain. Eventually, Harper found out she'd been organizing staff lockers by hand, cleaning them, labeling them. Who is this woman? She asked one night, half smiling. I didn't answer, because honestly I didn't know anymore either. One day I found Clarissa sitting in the alley behind the restaurant during her break, staring at the city lights. She looked up when I stepped out. I get it now, she said, why you walked away. I stayed quiet. I spent so long chasing approval, status, that feeling of being better, but it was never real. She sighed, and when it finally crumbled, I didn't miss the money. Or the dresses. I missed being trusted. Being seen. I nodded slowly. Then earn it. 6 months later, she was still with us. Still quiet, still steady. We let her move to front of house. She started hosting. Guests liked her. She didn't tell them her story, didn't talk about the wedding, or the goats, or the scandal. She just welcomed people, showed them to their tables, asked if they were celebrating anything special. Sometimes I'd see her pause near the kitchen watching Harper laugh with the chefs, or Nora running orders with a little notepad in hand. She never intruded, just smiled, soft, small, real. One evening after close, she handed me a folded note. I wrote this, she said, for you and for Harper. You don't have to read it now. I nodded and took it. Later, after the kids were asleep, I opened it. It wasn't long, just a few sentences. But one line stuck with me. I never knew what a real family looked like until I saw the one you built. We didn't become close again. Not really, but we became okay. And sometimes that's enough. Final update. People ask me if I ever forgave her. The truth, I let go. Not for her, for me. Because holding on to anger is heavy. And eventually I wanted my hands free for better things. Like Harper's hand in mine. Like Eli's drawings. Like Nora's tiny apron covered in flour. Like building something with people who never needed to be taught how to love. Clarissa lives in a small place now. Nothing fancy. But it's hers. She earned it. And every now and then she sends me a text. Just 3 words. Still showing up. That's enough. Not revenge. Not punishment. Not even reconciliation. Just peace. And after everything, that's the real luxury. Story 3. My name is Theo. I'm 35, single and self-made. I didn't invent anything revolutionary. I don't run a tech startup or sit on a hedge fund board. I own a wholesale paper supply company. Boring, right? But during the pandemic, when panic buyers were fighting over toilet rolls like they were gold bars, my company made more profit in 6 months than it had in the last 6 years combined. And while the world was unraveling, I was quietly becoming wealthy. Really wealthy. But to my family, I was still just the paper guy. 4 years of college for this, my dad would mutter at family dinners. My mom always laughed along, adding, hey, at least you'll never run out of bathroom humor. And my older sister Danielle, who works in HR and lives paycheck to paycheck, would toss in her usual Theo's living the dream, rolling in money literally. Everyone found it funny, until the bills were due. Then the jokes disappeared and their hands appeared palms up. I paid off their mortgage, paid for mom's new kitchen, helped Danielle out of credit card debt more than once. I gave without being asked, and they took without hesitation. But no matter how much I gave, I was never respected, especially by my dad. Last year, I bought him a Rolex, his 65th birthday, retirement party, a gold watch, the exact model he used to point at in magazines when I was a kid and say, someday. It was stunning, engraved with the words, for the man who taught me how to work hard. When I handed it to him, he stared for a second and said, what is this? A gift, I said. He raised an eyebrow. With your money from toilet paper? I just nodded, smile frozen in place. Looks expensive, he muttered. Guess bathrooms really do pay well. He put it on, but not before I saw the smirk he thought I'd miss. I told myself it didn't matter. That was just Dad being Dad. That he didn't mean it. That it was his way of showing love. But deep down, it mattered. More than I admitted. Because I spent years trying to earn a respect that was never coming. Then came the dinner. Dad's 66th birthday. I rented a private room at a rooftop restaurant downtown. 5-course meal, wine flowing, every detail tailored to make it perfect. I wanted him to feel important, seen, appreciated. And just when I thought it had worked, he stood up for a toast. He raised his glass and said, "To my son Theo, who thinks money can buy love, loyalty, or respect." He smiled. Everyone laughed. I didn't. I sat there stunned, like I'd been slapped but no one else noticed. My mom patted my hand. "It's just a joke." Danielle grinned. "Don't be so sensitive." And I realized right then they didn't get it. They never had. I stood up, set my glass down. "If my money means nothing to you," I said quietly, "then you don't need it anymore." Silence. My mom laughed nervously. "Theo, don't be dramatic." "No, Mom," I said, "I'm done." Dad raised an eyebrow. "You're walking out over a joke." "No," I said, "I'm walking out because I've been the punchline for too long." And I left. I got in my car, sat in the quiet for a while, and waited for the guilt to hit me. It didn't. Instead, I felt something else. Relief. For the first time in years, I wasn't the fallback, the safety net, the walking wallet. I was just me, and it felt good. The next morning, no one called. No texts. Nothing. At first, I thought they were giving me space. Then the messages started rolling in. My mom first. "Sweetheart, did you forget to send the monthly transfer? The utilities are due." Then, "Theo, we're a little behind this month. Can you help?" I didn't reply. Danielle messaged 2 days later. "Mom's worried, says you're ignoring her. You okay?" Then, "Dude, come on. You're really cutting them off over a dumb toast?" I still said nothing. 2 weeks passed. Then my dad called. He never called unless he needed something. I let it ring, then answered. "What's going on with you?" he snapped. "Your mother's stressed. The bills are piling up." "I'm sure they are," I said calmly. "We raised you," he barked. "This is how you repay us." "You mocked me in front of the whole family," I said. "You treat me like a joke but never hesitate to cash the checks." His voice hardened. "You're being petty." "No, Dad," I replied. "I'm being free." And I hung up. I wish I could say they stopped after that. But people who are used to being rescued don't stop asking just because the lifeboat sails away. The real storm was still ahead. It didn't take long for the quiet to turn into noise. 3 days after I stopped answering, my sister Danielle texted again. "Okay, seriously, you're proving a point. We get it. Now come back to reality." A minute later, "You can't just leave Mom and Dad hanging." I didn't respond. Because this wasn't about hanging them. This was about finally standing up for myself. The next day, my mom sent me a photo. It was of their kitchen table covered in unopened bills, red letters, overdue stamps. "Theo," she wrote, "this is what we're dealing with. Please, we need you." I stared at the picture for a long time, not because it made me feel guilty, but because I realized how familiar it looked. That kitchen table. I used to sit there after work calculating their bills, budgeting my paycheck, figuring out how to fix everything while they watched TV in the next room. And they still hadn't learned. A week later, the messages turned bitter. My mom left a voicemail. "Telling people your son abandoned you is harder than you think, Theo. I hope this feels worth it." And then, "If we lose the house, that's on you." I played the message twice just to let it sink in. The guilt was no longer subtle. It was tactical, weaponized. But I was done. Done paying to be belittled. Done funding people who thought my money mattered more than I did. That weekend, Danielle showed up at my condo. I didn't let her in. She stood on my doorstep for 15 minutes, pacing arms crossed like she was preparing a courtroom argument. Finally, I opened the door halfway. She didn't waste a second. "This is childish," she snapped. "Do you want them to starve?" "No," I said. "I want them to take responsibility. They're not built for that." "Whose fault is that?" I asked. "Mine." Danielle scoffed. "You enabled them for years. Now you want to pretend you're the victim?" "I'm not pretending anything," I said. "I just stopped playing my part." "You always thought you were better than us." "No," I replied. "But I finally realized I deserve better than being treated like a walking bank account." She stared at me like I'd spoken another language. Then she said the line that sealed the deal. "Don't expect us to forgive you when Dad ends up in the hospital." And just like that, I closed the door. Because when people start using your love as leverage, they're not family anymore. They're extortionists. Flashback. When I was 27, Dad called me in the middle of the workday. Your mom's car broke down. We're stranded at the store. I left a meeting, drove 40 minutes, and paid for the tow. They didn't say thank you. When I got them home, Dad said, if you had a real job, maybe you'd understand how stressful this is. A real job. I paid off their car loan 2 months later. They still talked about me like I'd dropped out of clown college. Back in the present, I started sleeping better. I ate dinner in silence, walked through my condo without hearing my phone vibrate every hour, took long drives just to listen to music without demands chasing me down. And for the first time in years, I didn't feel obligated to anyone. It was bliss. Until they took it public. 3 weeks after the birthday dinner, I got tagged in a post on Facebook. It was from a community page in my hometown. The caption read, "Sometimes the people closest to us forget where they came from. We gave them everything, and now they pretend we don't exist." Attached was a photo of my parents standing outside their house holding a for sale sign. The comments poured in. Heartbreaking. How could a child do this disgusting? Money changes people. Whoever this son is, karma's coming. They didn't mention my name. They didn't have to. People knew. Old neighbors, childhood friends, even former teachers shared the post. My inbox filled with messages. Some sympathetic, most not. Really, Theo. I hope you sleep well at night. Your parents are good people. You should be ashamed. But here's the thing. I didn't feel ashamed, not anymore. Because the truth was simple. They didn't lose the house because I stopped paying. They lost it because they never learned how to stand on their own. Danielle called that night. You saw the post, she said. I did. You're not even going to respond. No. They're humiliated. They chose to be, I said. They chose to go public instead of going to work. Danielle was silent for a long time. Then she said something that almost made me laugh. They're scared. So was I replied. Every month wondering how I'd make their bills work without falling behind on mine. You could have given them notice. And what would they have done differently, I asked. Saved, budgeted, looked for work. She didn't answer. Because we both knew the truth. They'd just have begged harder. A week later, my dad emailed me. Just one sentence. Respect can't be bought, but your silence is deafening. I stared at it. Typed deleted. Typed again. Deleted again. And then finally replied, respect can't be bought, but you cash the checks anyway. He never responded. In the meantime, I started something new. I hired a small creative team to rebrand my company. Not because I needed more money, but because for the first time I wanted to build something that felt like mine. Not something I owed anyone. Not something to prove myself. Just something I believed in. I poured my energy into it. And slowly my bitterness turned into purpose. Then came the final push. I got a letter from a lawyer. My parents had tried to refinance their house using my name. They forged my signature. I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I just took a deep breath and said aloud, that's it. Because there's a difference between guilt and betrayal. And this was betrayal. The envelope was slim official and came from a bank I didn't recognize. At first I thought it was junk. Then I opened it. And time stopped. Inside was a formal notice about a mortgage refinance under my name. Except I hadn't signed anything. I hadn't applied for a loan. I hadn't authorized a refinance. I hadn't spoken to anyone at that bank. And the signature at the bottom, it was mine. Sort of. Sloppy. Crooked. Almost like someone had copied it from an old birthday card and hoped no one would look too closely. My chest tightened, my hands went cold. I sat down and read the entire thing again slower this time, just to be sure I wasn't losing my mind. Nope, it was real. My parents had tried to forge my name to secure money against their house. They had literally committed fraud, and they'd done it without hesitation. I didn't call anyone right away. I didn't rant online. I didn't text Danielle. I didn't yell into the void. I just sat in my living room holding the papers, thinking about every single time they'd told me I was overreacting, that I was selfish, that I didn't understand how real family works. I thought about the Rolex I'd bought my dad, the bills I'd paid, the vacations I'd skipped so they could keep the house, and now they'd stolen my name. When I finally called my mom, she picked up on the second ring. Hi, honey, she said like everything was normal. We need to talk, I said, my voice flat. She paused. About what? I didn't answer right away. Just let the silence stretch until it made her squirm. You know what? A beat. Then, I figured you'd find out. That was it. No apology, no explanation, just casual acknowledgement like it was overdue library books. I clenched my jaw. You forged my name. It was just paperwork. No, I said, it was fraud. We planned to pay it back. With what I asked, you don't work. Dad's retirement check barely covers groceries. What was the plan, Mom? Wait for me to notice and bail you out again? She went quiet. Then she played the last card she had. Your father didn't want to do it, she whispered. It was me. Please don't be angry at him. I laughed. A bitter, hollow sound. I'm not angry, Mom, I'm done. You wouldn't really report us, would you? There it was. Not fear for me. Fear for herself. You made that choice, I said, not me. And I hung up. The next morning, I went to the bank in person. I brought documents ID, previous signature samples, everything. I filed a fraud report and insisted my name be removed from the application. I told them calmly, professionally, that I had been impersonated, that I would not be held responsible for debt I hadn't agreed to. They took it seriously, and within a week the loan was denied. The account flagged. A formal investigation opened. My parents were notified, and everything hit the fan. The calls started immediately. Blocked numbers, private lines, voicemails from my dad of all people. Theo, what the hell did you do? You're really going to throw us under the bus? We're your family. I didn't reply. Not once, because that word family had become a curse. A few days later, Danielle showed up at my office. I should have had security walk her out, but something in her face made me pause. She looked tired, pale, like she hadn't slept. 5 minutes, I said, stepping into the hallway. She didn't waste time. They're losing the house. I know. You could stop this. I already did, I said, by refusing to lie for them. They weren't trying to hurt you, she said. They were desperate. They were deceitful, I corrected. There's a difference. She crossed her arms. They raised you. No, I said. I raised them, paid for them, covered for them. And when I finally stopped, they committed a crime. Danielle swallowed. Dad's not eating. Mom barely gets out of bed. They feel like everything's falling apart. Good, I said. Maybe now they'll understand what it felt like when I was carrying them on my back for a decade. She stared at me horrified. You've changed. No, I said. I've finally stopped pretending. Then I walked back into my office and shut the door. 2 months passed. Their house went into foreclosure. They tried to delay the sale, but with no income and bad credit, there was nothing they could do. Eventually, they were forced to move into a small rental. And for once, Danielle had to step up. I didn't reach out. Not when they moved. Not when I heard Dad was sick. Not even when I got a birthday card in the mail from my mom that simply said, I hope you're happy. Because I was. For the first time in years, I felt clear. No guilt, no anxiety, no tightrope walking between duty and dignity. I was free. And the silence. It wasn't cold. It was clean. Flashback. When I was 19, I got my first credit card. My dad asked to borrow it for gas. He maxed it out on golf clubs. I paid it off. He never said thank you. I never said anything. I just swallowed it. Back then, I thought love meant putting up with that. Now I know better. One day I got a call from an unknown number. I almost ignored it, but something told me to answer. It was my dad. Theo, he said, voice gravelly. We're not asking for money. That was new. I just wanted to say, I get it now. I said nothing. We thought you'd always be there, that you didn't mind. I did, I said. He sighed. I know. We sat in silence for a few seconds. Then he said, I'm sorry. I wanted to believe him. But then he added, we could still use some help. And I hung up. 6 months passed. No more voicemails. No more emails. No more just one more favor or we didn't mean it. The silence had finally settled into something permanent. Not a Cold War. Not a timeout. Just nothing. And nothing felt incredible. I moved to a new apartment. A little higher up, a little quieter. Floor-to-ceiling windows. Clean lines. The kind of place I used to imagine I'd live in if I ever got to start over. I got back into reading, cooking, running again. I finally took that solo trip to Greece I'd canceled twice over the years because of family emergencies. Funny how those always stopped happening when the ATM shut down. One evening I opened Reddit and decided on a whim to post my story. Not for pity, not for revenge. I just needed to put it out there. Somewhere real, somewhere raw. I called it, I bought my dad a Rolex. He gave me a punchline. I didn't expect anyone to care. But by morning it had exploded. Thousands of comments. Some calling me brave. Others calling me cold. The divide was sharp and everyone had an opinion. They're your parents, you should forgive them. This man is the definition of self-respect. No wonder he's alone. I'd do the same in a heartbeat. Some replies stung. Some felt like applause. But one question kept popping up over and over. Do you regret it? I thought about that a lot. Not because I was unsure, but because I wanted to answer it with total honesty. So here's the truth. No, I don't regret walking away. I regret waiting so long to do it. Flashback. The first time I said no, I was 30. My mom had asked for help paying off Danielle's credit card debt. She's drowning, she said. You're doing so well. I said no. Politely, calmly, Mom hung up. 3 days later, I got a text from Danielle. Thanks for throwing me under the bus. She never asked me directly. Just let Mom guilt me into it. That's how they worked, until I stopped playing. Now life was simple. Not perfect, not storybook, but mine. I woke up every day knowing no one was waiting for me to fix their mess. My money mine. My time mine. My peace finally real. A few months after the Reddit post, I ran into an old neighbor. We made small talk catching up. Then she leaned in, lowered her voice and said, "Everyone's still talking about what happened." I shrugged. "They think you've changed," she added. "I have." She tilted her head. "Do you ever talk to them anymore?" "No." Her eyebrows rose, not even to check in. I looked at her steady. "If someone tried to steal your name, would you send them a birthday card?" She didn't have an answer. So I smiled, wished her well, and walked away. Danielle sent a letter not long after that. Handwritten, 3 pages. I opened it, read the first few lines, then stopped. Because it was all the same script. "You were always the favorite. We didn't know you were so unhappy. You should have just told us." I wanted to scream. I did tell them. Every time I said I'm tired. Every time I asked them to meet me halfway. Every time I mentioned how they made me feel like a joke, they ignored it. Or worse, laughed it off. So no, I wasn't going to be the one to start over. Because healing doesn't begin with "we didn't mean it." It begins with "we did it." And they never said that. One morning I opened my inbox and found a message from an unknown Gmail address. Subject line, "We saw the post." The message was short. "You embarrassed us. Hope it was worth it." No name, no signature, but I knew exactly who sent it. I didn't reply. Because when people care more about their image than your experience, you're not dealing with family. You're dealing with spectators. And I'm done performing. Flashback. My 25th birthday. They forgot. Literally. No calls, no texts, nothing. I ended up ordering Thai food, watching a movie alone, and convincing myself it didn't matter. The next day, Dad called. "I need help filing my taxes," he said. No mention of the date. No mention of me. Just another transaction. That night, I started budgeting my way out of their grip. It took me 10 years to fully let go. And when I finally did, they called it betrayal. Because people who benefit from your silence will always call your voice an attack. But I didn't burn the bridge. They set it on fire. I just walked away before it collapsed. A year later, someone asked me during a podcast interview, "What's your biggest lesson from all of this?" And without even thinking, I answered, "Never invest in people who resent your success. Because no amount of money can buy you love from someone who needs you to be small so they can feel big." I gave them everything, and it was never enough. Not because my gifts were wrong, but because I was never what they wanted. I succeeded outside their playbook, and they never forgave me for it. Now, I spend holidays with friends. People who bring something to the table besides expectations. People who laugh with me, not at me. People who respect me for who I am, not where I came from. And that's what family is. Chosen, earned, built, not born. So if you're wondering whether I miss them, no. I miss who I wished they were. And that's not the same thing. Final words. If you're reading this because you're struggling with guilt, here's what I'll say. You don't owe people your peace just because they share your blood. You don't have to keep giving to prove your love. You don't have to set yourself on fire to keep anyone else warm. You're allowed to choose yourself. And if that makes you heartless in their eyes, good, because your heart is finally beating for you.